Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to make two sheet pan dinners. These are different than I've done before. They're two, I wouldn't say pasta. One's a pasta and one is, got tortillas in it. So one's a Mexican and one's an Italian dish. So we are going to try to get these and throw them together. They're basically like a dump and go. But instead of it going into a skillet or on the stovetop, it's going to be in the sheet pan and go in the oven. Okay, so it's going to take a good bit of prep work, but I think I got everything set up and ready to go, so we can just go ahead and begin. I cooked a pound of ground beef, fried it loose. I've already drained it, and now I'm going to add my seasonings. I need a tablespoon of garlic powder. And some of these are going to be dry, even though the recipe calls for fresh, so keep that in mind. You have to adjust your measurements when you cook with dry, if the recipe calls for fresh. So I usually do about half of what it calls for, if it's fresh. And I'm going to put some parsley in, but I'm not going to put as much as it calls for, because that's a lot. And I need to make sure I've got all those. Now, you're going to add all of your seasonings except for your Italian seasoning. You're going to set it aside. I'm running low on Italian seasoning, so I'm going to add a little bit of basil to it to kind of make up the difference. But you stir all these up together. Now, you can follow the recipe to a T. I kind of, you know, went off to the left a little, just a little bit. Just because I have to cook many things for many different videos, so I'm short on time. But if you're, oh, and please forgive the dishwasher's going in the background. I'm trying to talk over it, but anyway. So we'll go ahead and we get all those seasonings in there. I'm gonna add some sauce. We do like ragu, but I decided to go a little bit cheaper this time. I've got a 45-ounce jar of traditional Great Value sauce. We always go traditional. The flavor, the beef flavored or the meat flavored, to me has like beef broth in it or something. I just don't like it. So we try to go just as plain as possible. And you're going to go ahead and mix this together. And while that's simmering, because you want it to simmer just a little bit, we're going to move over a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and get our, what would typically be in lasagna world, our filling ready. So hang on just a minute, let me get that set up. Okay, y'all, so here is my cottage cheese mixture. We're going to mix that all together. You do not have to use cottage cheese, you can use ricotta. Let me get the measurements on that. 16 ounces is what you need. You're going to salt and pepper to taste. So hopefully that won't be too much. You're going to put in 1 beaten egg. Okay. And like I said, let me get the measurements on this. Okay. A tablespoon of Italian seasoning, and I did not have a tablespoon. So I'm going to just add a little bit of basil, take up the slack on that. I do not like the Italian seasoning. There's something in it that just yuck. So when I make my own lasagna, I just use basil pretty much throughout the whole recipe. I like oregano too. But just something about that, I don't know what's in it, but something I just don't like. Maybe the rosemary, because that's not, I'm not a fan. But anyway, so that's your filling. Then what we're going to do is we're going to move our sauce over into another bowl, because we're going to add it to our noodles. And so like I said, this is kind of a dump and go thing, just like dump and go stovetop lasagnas or lazy lasagnas are. It's very similar, but just a little bit different, just a different little twist. All right, I'll be right back with you. Okay, y'all, so we'll move this skillet over here. It's got our sauce in it. Make sure y'all can see it. All right, so at this time, if you wanted to, you can add some heavy whipping cream to this and make it more creamy. I wasn't going to do that. was going to skip that part. And I think you can and get away with it. I don't think there's like a huge, you don't have to do that. So the next thing you need to do is you're going to have to stir in a cup of mozzarella into the sauce and a cup of parm. And I don't have enough parm for the rest of this recipe, so the rest of the recipe I'm just going to use what little bit of parm I have left. And I think I can probably get away with that too. Alright, so we're going to mix all this in. Okay, so we're done with the sauce. Now, I cooked the lasagna noodles. I broke them into pieces. This is 16 ounces. They're al dente. And so the next step is we're going to next step is you're going to take the sauce and you're going to mix it in. And sorry for the noise, I just want to make sure I get everything. Okay, so we're going to try our best to stir it after it gets all over me. Still think that we should have done this with some other sort of noodle. That way we wouldn't have to worry about these big old noodles. Even though they're broke in half, they're still cumbersome to have to work with. But I'm just going to do my best and then we'll worry about it later. Okay. Let me clean up just a little bit. Alright. Okay, this is basically it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my largest sheet pan and I'm going to spray it with some spray. And it's an ugly thing, but I use it a lot. So I'm going to spray it with some spray. We're going to put this here. And this stuff's heavy, y'all. So we're going to put this on the sheet pan. So once you get past, all the extras having to do with lasagna, you know how lasagna is, it's easy, I guess, but it's got a lot of steps. And so I don't make homemade a lot, even though my family loves it. And that's why. It's because it's just, it costs $1 million to make. That's what I always tell them. And it's just a headache. Now, I like a lazy lasagna or something like that because, it's kind of a one-pot kind of situation. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to spread these out. Try to get them as a single layer as possible. Okay? You're going to do your best to do that. And then you're going to take your mixture, your cottage cheese mixture. I'm going to try to get a spoon because this spatula is not going to work. Okay. Dollop this on. I'm going to kind of dollop it on but kind of spread it out some. Okay. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take 2 cups of mozzarella, which I have a lot here, but I'm not going to use all this. And then what's left of your parm, which is usually 2 cups, even though the ingredient list did not state that. I didn't see it. So I'm going to sprinkle this on and make a mess because I think cheese is cheap or something. And then I'm going to do some more. And you're just going to try to cover this best you can. Okay? That was probably just a teeny bit more than a cup, but. And then I'm going to take my parm and use that. And then that's it. Let's see. You're going to bake this for about 40 minutes at 350. So what you're going to do is once this is done, you're going to just kind of, you know, kind of cut it a little bit with maybe a cooking spoon or something, or a spatula. It'll probably kind of fall apart, I would think. And it's basically a big bowl of lazy lasagna, basically. But you can also do the noodles a little bit different than what I did. You could spread them out. But, you know, keep an eye on it. Don't let it burn. And I'll see you back here in a minute. Okay, y'all. So this is the finished product for the lasagna. It was already starting to brown on top, so I wanted to go ahead and take it out. But it's ready to go. I left some of these exposed, so they're a little bit crunchy. But I don't know how you're going to avoid that unless you probably leave them whole and try to layer it that way and cover it in sauce. And like I said, I used about 45 ounces, I believe, of the sauce, just so it's extra saucy. You do not have to do that. I want to say that the recipe called for 24 ounces, but I just got the bigger one because I like it a little bit more wet. But you can certainly change that if you would like. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to work on a sheet pan enchilada recipe. It's a first for me with the enchiladas on a sheet pan, but I figure it's really similar to nachos, so it shouldn't be too hard to make. You're going to have to preheat your oven to 375. I've already cooked a pound of ground beef, loose, and drained it. And I've deferred from the recipe just a little, but you'll see once you actually, you know, use the recipe. I was supposed to cook the taco seasoning with the meat as it cooked, but I'm short on time, so I'm just trying to take as many shortcuts as I can. So you can do it how I do it on the video, or you can follow the recipe to a T, up to you. So I also changed the enchilada sauce. We prefer green, so we're going to use the green enchilada sauce, so hopefully it won't look too ugly. And I'm going to go ahead and mix this with it. You need 28 ounces of enchilada sauce. And you're just going to stir that. And then, while I get some other parts of the recipe together, we're going to let this simmer as soon as I wipe up this mess. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to let this simmer as soon as I get it mixed together really good. It's really similar to our other sheet pan recipe, or sheet pan lasagna. The method is kind of the same. So you should be able to follow it okay. It is a little time consuming, but I have faith in you. I believe you can do it. So the next part of this is we're going to get our sheet pan together. Now you'll need a very large sheet pan for this, and you're going to need some cooking spray. I have some very well loved sheet pans, and those are the ones I always use, and they're quite large. So set it here, and then we're going to get some of our other things ready to go. I've already cut up 27 corn tortillas, not flour, but corn. The recipe calls for that, and I think we probably need to stick to the recipe on that. Flour will tend to kind of break down to become mush. Not that these can't, but flour would do it pretty quickly. So I'm going to give this sauce just a little bit more time to heat up, and then I'll come right back. Okay, y'all. So you need to get a big bowl. You need to cut your corn tortillas. I just cut them in half and then in half again, where they look like kind of like little triangles. And then you're going to take your sauce and you're going to pour it in there. Now, I'm going to layer it this time. Oh, Lord. It always makes a mess, y'all. Always. Try my best to do this. Okay. And I took half of them out just so that I could kind of get a better spread on it or whatever. You know, spread it out more. Make sure that it's coating everything. And then let me get a spatula. Pour this in here. Actually, this recipe is a lot easier than a lasagna, because as you know, lasagnas have, you know, they just have a lot of work that goes into them. And so just okay. So basically, that's it. And we are going to get our sheet pan, which I sprayed with spray. Hopefully y'all can see it. Okay. And then you're gonna spread this out. Okay. Spread it out. Best I can. Oops. Ooh. Honestly, if I had this to do over again, I don't know how I could do it better. That's what I always try to do with every recipe, especially if it seems like it was not hard, but it just seemed like that how it's laid out in the recipe, sometimes it just seems like you eventually get your act together as far as that goes, and you have the finished product and all that. But for some reason, some recipes seems like they just seem like they're not laid out too well. So I try to like come up with a different plan for the next time I make it, especially if it's one that I liked, you know. Okay, so I have some Colby, not Colby Jack, but Colby cheese, and I have some pepper jack cheese, and I'm just gonna kind of put them together. You only need, let me recheck the measurements. You only need 2 cups worth of cheese total. So I'm probably going to end up putting 3. Because I think this was about 3. So pepper jack and Colby. Now you can use whatever mixture you want to. That's not going to matter. So if you get the Fiesta blend or one of the blends, you know, that a lot of people prefer, there's nothing wrong with that at all. And then the last part of the recipe, we're supposed to put sliced black olives and some chopped jalapeno. Usually the jalapeno that I like to use is pickled. It is so good. And that brand that I'm always showing y'all is like crunchy, and I just love that. I don't like the sogginess of like pickles or anything like that. Peppers, any of that. I like for it to be crunchy. Because to me, that's like the closest thing to fresh, and it's probably not. But I'm just saying, in my mind. And I like... But I'm also the type of person that I like to add fresh tomatoes to things that's cooked. And, you know, not in the sun dried. Stuff like that. So I'm that type of person. So I've got a texture thing, I guess. Anyway, I'm not going to put jalapenos on these. Just for the people that in my family that don't prefer the spiciness. I'll just put it on individual plates or whatever. You're going to put this in the oven for 375. Only for like 25 minutes. This one should be a lot easier and than the lasagna one, and it should get done a lot faster. Lasagna's got the raw egg in it. Even though everything's pretty much cooked, it's got the raw egg in it, so that's kind of a factor. Okay, as soon as this one comes out of the oven, I will get right back to you. Okay, y'all, so this is a finished product. I went ahead and took it out, and I'm going to let it cool. You need to let each of these sheet pan recipes cool about 10 minutes before you cut into them. And you're going to cut into them with maybe a pizza cutter, and then lift them out with like a spatula or a pancake turner, you know, a bigger spatula. I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle some green onions on top. And then when I go to dish it out, I'm going to put some sour cream, maybe a little chopped tomato, you know, just all the things. So that is going to be a really quick and easy dinner. It took no time to throw together. Like I said, this one was a lot easier than our Italian version that we've got. But I think it's going to be good. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.